around like when you enlist in the administrations that it aligns with. Did you have any concerns initially? Once when you were making that decision, uh, when looking at the administration that you would be coming in under?
That is always a concern. Who's in charge is always a concern. But for me, that didn't concern me as much as the burden to be a part of something bigger. I understood that anytime you join the military, there's a possibility, that you could go to war to defend the country you are in. And I understood that possibility. It was something that I had settled in my mind. It was already settled. No matter who's in office, it's understood that there are always people who want to take away the freedoms that we hold dear to us, even if as a race we're marginalized. In other countries, they still look at America as a threat, and they still want to snatch away the freedom that we hold dear to us. The right to protest, the right to peacefully gather. That is not a reality in every country, and there are a lot of countries out there that envy us for that. And so I understood that, I understood the climate of politics, but I also understood that I wanted to be able to defend what we hold dear.
Gotcha. Well, we got to get ready to let you go, but I want to take a second to end on this note. What is it that you want most for our country right now?
What I want most from the country is that's a loaded question. I want people to understand the complexities that we as people of color face, and to empathize. While there may be some things that don't directly affect you, they may affect somebody that's around you. And so be empathetic to the person on your left or your right, because you may not understand the day they've had. And that goes for that's for everybody, right? Be understanding of what somebody else around you is going through, because you may have had a bad day, but somebody could have it worse than you. And so just keep that in mind, and season your words with grace, and treat people with love. And that's really what I want.
When you said season your words with grace, that really stuck out to me, because I end every show by saying, taste your words before you feed them to someone else.
Wow.
And that is so real. It is so important. And I say that at the end of every show, and every day it's a challenge, right? To make sure
That's
that
right.
I live up to that, or that I hold myself accountable to that. But we've got to try, right? We've got to keep that as an ideal that we strive for and that we live out. So listen, Army Specialist William Mayer, thank you so much for joining us, for your service and sacrifice, and for always keeping the big picture in your sights.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
All right, loves, we are taking a quick break, but when we come back on the other side, I will be welcoming Laura Elam. She is a retired sergeant with the U.S. Army, and we're going to hear from her. So stay tuned. Again, the phone lines are open. If there is a veteran or a currently enlisted military member that you want to shout out, show love to, whatever it may be, or if that's you, right? You just want to rep and make sure that folks know, because we want to make sure that folks know. Feel free to call in 215-634-8065 and toll free 866-361-0900. Let me go ahead, actually, because I think I might have just got the green light to keep it rolling. And so I want to make sure I check the phone lines because I do want to hear from you. I believe we have Brother Tyrone on line one. So since we don't have to break, let's go to the phone lines, and then I'll welcome my next guest. So Brother Tyrone, thank you so much for choosing a safe space with us. How you doing? What's on your mind? You there? You there?
Our brothers and sisters that have, served in this, this man's army. I want to give a shout out to the brothers of Edison who, they had a historical marker put up between on the sky where, it paid honor and gave recognition to the lives that was lost in Vietnam. As everyone already know, Edison lost more, students in Vietnam than they were talking about than many of the high schools put together. So I just want to give a shout out to those brothers that worked hard to get that market, to give them homage. And also, I've been, shouting out a few folks, but I got to shout out James Simon. James Simon is our our youth council at Committee for a Better North Philadelphia. And at age 17, and I hope I'm not saying this wrong, became the squad leader at his group at age 17 in Vietnam. His leadership and his, whatever he was doing.
Wow. 17 years old.
To be given in this country there, and I hope to give out any.
Gotcha. Well, listen, thank you, Brother Tyrone, for calling in and making sure we're aware of that. And thank him, thanks to him for his service and sacrifice. Let's go ahead and welcome our next guest, Laura Elam. I know her. Actually, I know Ken and I know Laura. And I'm super grateful to be welcoming Laura on the show. She is a retired sergeant with the United States Army. Laura, thank you, number one, for your service and sacrifice, and two, for choosing a safe space with us today. How you doing?
I'm doing really fine. This is a day where I kind of celebrated like in three different tiers. I'm a second generation in the military. My father, started from like 1944, and then my brother, and then myself. So it's more like when I celebrate just everything that my family did just so that I could get in the military, and how it was a part of my life since before I was born. Actually, I was born on the Army's birthday, so that's how embellished I am in being in a part of the military.
Wow. Okay, so for those of us who don't know when the Army's birthday is, can you let us know when is the Army's birthday?
I can now announce it with good heart. It's June 14th. I would not announce it 4 years from now, but now I can actually announce it. It's
Gotcha.
The 14th of June.
June 14th. So let me ask you this. And I've started each of the conversations I've had with military members today with the same question. Why did you decide to serve?
At first, when I first decided to serve, it was when I was in high school, because they had a buddy team where you and your buddy can join the military and you get these extra money and bonuses and stuff like that. Unfortunately, my buddy was more adventurous than I was, and she had a baby, and then the second time we went around, she had another baby. So I lost that buddy edge. So I wanted to join because I knew that it was very difficult for me to get a job where it would make me, as a woman, feel better. The jobs that they were offering during that time mostly was secretarial jobs or jobs that were just basically for women. They had women jobs when I was growing up. And gotcha. I knew for a fact if I became that person, I would not be happy. So because I actually, you see your parents and you notice especially your mother when you seem to be happy. Then you see your sister doing the same thing. She seemed to be happy. But then you see your brother, they go away, they come back, they go away, come back. And they seem a little bit more happier. So I wanted to follow the steps behind my brothers. So I wanted a little bit more out of life. And so that year I decided to join the military, which I didn't even tell my father until I came back. Because,
oh, wow.
My father was very, he was an old-fashioned school-type person where women, stayed behind the house and raised the children and did housekeeping. for me to join the military, it was a secret. I didn't tell nobody. I just said I'll be back and visit my sister, and I was visiting my sister for 6 months, and that's what I did.
Wow. Wait. So was your sister in on it? Like, how was she say, "Oh Lord, I'm at the store"? Like,
it wasn't really it wasn't a real lie because my sister lived in Texas, and that's where it was one of the duty stations. So I wasn't really lying. I did visit my sister. You know, I went to Fort Dix at first, and then I went to Texas. So I didn't really lie. I did visit my sister, and I did stay with her. You know, so.
Gotcha,
but when he saw
so,
me, he knew I was in the military. When he saw me, he knew I joined.
Oh wow! So I mean, oh no, go ahead.
No, because my demeanor had changed. My attitude was. I was really like I was so different from before I went in the military. That after the military, you know, it's a very interesting code that you receive once you join, and it stays with you for life. It's the best. It's really the best thing I ever did in my life. It took me so far. But go ahead. I'm sorry. You know, I like to talk, so I try.
Yeah, no. Listen. That was a story right there. I wasn't ready for that. But you know, Laura, you always got this story. That's why I was like, I really need to talk to her and see what this experience was like. And I do wish we had more time. But you know, you spoke to the fact that you know, you just enlisted at a time where it was really, you know, women either being in the home or being in jobs that were dubbed, you know, for specifically women only. What was that like for you, being a woman in the military, more specifically being a Black woman in the military?
To be a woman and a Black woman, so you got two layers on you. And I wasn't a very young woman when I joined. I was not as young as the average woman because I didn't join right after high school. So you had 3 tiers, and the 3 tiers that hurt you the most is women. We were categorized as not in a very positive way. I really think that with the Me Too movement today, if it was back in 1982, I think there's been a lot of women that would have had a better outcome in the military. And being a Black woman, I went through one thing. I still can, you know, we're friends now, but I went through a lot. Like, I couldn't even get a promotion because another culture person was in charge of it, and he would always want to make sure the other person get a promotion before I did. And that really put like a cover over my head, make me kind of like nervous about everything succeeding. Yeah. Because I always remember him saying, well, she didn't get it. When she gets it, then you'll get it too. Like that was I was always going to be second because I was a Black woman in the military, and they were more pushing their own culture.
Gotcha. So at this point, you know, given your experiences, what advice, if any, would you specifically give to Black women who are considering enlisting in the military?
Well, if you're really serious about enlisting in the military, I would definitely go to a woman like the VA or something that has a woman group prior before you join, and just listen to the stories. I'm not telling you to take all the stories verbatim because we do exaggerate sometimes, and sometimes everything is not factual. But do your research. Just like you eat food and you want to know where it came from and the vitamins you take for your body, you have to do the same thing for the military because they accidentally gave women medication that made them sterile. So you have to really do your research. Like when you join the military, go in there with a plan. Is it education? Is it finance? Like, why are you joining the military? Is it just for the uniforms? Is it just to get a man, or a woman? Because now everything is on the table, which is fantastic. Because during the time I was in there, you know, it was don't tell and don't do this. Now, majority of people committed suicide. Now they're letting everybody be themselves. So when you go in the military, make sure you have a plan, and make sure you have someone that's not in the military as a strong hold on issues that you may have questions about. You know, make sure you know your leadership. Make sure you know your position. And it is a great career. I mean, I was in it for 28 years, and it does go fast. I agree with the kids. It does go fast. My intentions was not to be in it for 28 years. My intentions was never to go to a war. So to go to 2 wars, actually, it was two wars. It was a really amazing ride.
Because you did Operation Desert Storm and then Operation Iraqi Freedom?
Yes, yeah.
Got you.
So,
okay.
So if you look at my family history, we did World War II, Korea War, Vietnam War, Operation Desert Shield, Operation Desert Storm, and Iraqi Freedom. So we hit all the wars in my family. So,
wow.
You know, but it has a toll on it because I can honestly say I got out of the military. I can handle some situations where the average person cannot, and I kind of take that on as a challenge, like a badge of honor. You know.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, we got to get ready to let you go. So really quickly, I'll close with this, and that is, what's one thing right now that you really want for our country? What do you want most for our country right now?
I want our country to have a leader that understands the challenges of a military family and give them the resources to have that when they're in the military, when they're out of the military, and beyond with their children and family. And that's what I would like to see, without filling out a lot of paperwork, without challenging and making them feel bad. And also the mental illness is extremely important. That is one of the issues that was always not given enough.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Gotcha. So thank you.
Yeah, no, all thanks due to you and your family for the service and sacrifices that you all have made. Loves, I've just been chatting with Laura Elam, retired sergeant with the United States Army. She served for 28 years. So, Laura, thank you so much for choosing a safe space with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah. All right, loves, we are taking a quick break. When we come back on the other side, we'll be welcoming Michael Cord and Jasmine Peaks. I want to bring you, the goal is to bring us all up to speed on what's happening with the Anthony Smith case. If you have not heard about it, don't know anything about it, don't worry, you're about to. So stay tuned. I'm your host, Sincerely Sarita. This is Safe Space. It is 8 o'clock on the dot. We will be back after these messages.
Seniors, does your doctor regularly reach out to check on you? Can you walk into your doctor's office and see them if you need to? Do you have your doctor's cell phone number and can you call them anytime, day or night? At Dedicated Senior Medical Center, their only specialty is caring for seniors. Dedicated makes it easy to get the primary care you deserve. Doctors spend more time with patients than the doctors you may be used to. They offer telehealth visits, help you get your medications, and even make sure you get to your appointments. If your doctor isn't treating you like family, it's time to say yes to Dedicated Senior Medical Center. Call Dedicated Senior Medical Center today to schedule a visit and find out what you're missing. Call 267-443-1900. That's 267-443-1900. Appointments are available now.
Dietz & Watson has been making premium meats and artisan cheeses for over 80 years. And when it comes to stacking sandwiches and party platters, they've got something for everyone in the family, like maple honey turkey breast, American cheese, buffalo chicken, and more. So get to your local deli and taste 4 generations of family recipes. With Dietz & Watson on the table, you'll have everyone coming back for seconds and thirds. Dietz & Watson, it's a family thing since 1939.
Livelihood.
The new initiative from WURD Radio, connecting Philadelphians to jobs, entrepreneurship opportunities, small business resources, and financial literacy. Visit WURDworks.com right now and take the next step in your professional journey.
Work, 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 work
Livelihood is supported by the Nightland Fest's Local News Transformation Fund, Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equity and Journalism Fund, and the Solutions Journalism Network.
Tune in this Saturday at 10 a.m. for the Educational Pulse with the School District of Philadelphia with host Dr. William Haidt.
Monday through Thursday, keep it locked to WURD Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with the Power Hour, hosted by Bishop Dwayne Royster and Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler. At 7, it's Wake Up with WURD with Solomon Jones. At 10 a.m., it's Reality Check with Charles Ellison. Then at 1 p.m., it's The Source, hosted by Andrea Lawful Sanders on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and the Black Women's Leadership Council on Wednesdays. At 4 p.m., it's Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Then at 7, it's Save Space with Sincerely Sarita. At 9 p.m., round up your day with Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Keep your dial locked to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app. Or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio. Independent Black Media.
Did you get an eviction notice before the shutdown? Are you looking for a lawyer once the moratorium ends? There's so many questions with so little time. Let Equally Informed Philly find the answers for you. Just text the phrase Equal Info to the number 73224. Again, that's Equal Info, one word, to 73224. Their community information line will get the answers you need to survive in the time of COVID-19. Equally Informed Philly for all Philadelphians.
He's back.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
In times like these, we have to stay connected.
At a brand new time, Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
I'm excited that Keeping It Real returns to WURD.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight. This program is pre-recorded. No phone calls, please.
Keep it locked to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURDradio.com.
Tune in this and every Saturday at 3 p.m. for the Let's Talk Fire Safety Show with host Adam Thiel, Fire Commissioner, discussing fire and life safety. WURD Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness and motivation as we continue to navigate the pandemic together.
Hi, this is Halana, your resident health and wellness coach, with tips to help you stay well. Many of us have heard this term before, but may not know what it really means. Compassionate living brings mindfulness and peace to the center of your daily life. Compassionate living can look like this. Number 1, be gentle with yourself and those around you. Number 2, choose to speak kindly to others, even when you're upset. Number 3, become a good listener and practice empathy at home and at work. We sometimes think in order to live with compassion, we have to become someone else. Not so. In fact, allowing peacefulness to be at the center of our daily interactions is something we can practice every day. Go ahead and try it today. Stay well with WURD. Happy living.
Stay well with WURD. Connect with us at WURDradio.com. This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media. Grab your mic. It's time for Kayla J's Karaoke Song of the Day.
Mother, mother, there's too many of you crying. Well then, brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. You know we got to find a way. Bring some love in here today. Oh, well, Father, Father, we don't need to escalate. No, because war is not the answer, for only love can conquer hate. You know we got to find a way to bring some love in here today, yeah. Get alive, pick your side, but don't you punish me with brutality. And go on and talk to me, well, oh, so you can see, yeah, what's going on, what's going on, yeah, what's going on, yeah, I gotta know what's going on, what's going on, hey, what's going on.
You are back listening to Safe Space. I'm your host, Sincerely Sarita, and today's show is brought to you by the Well City Challenge, a citywide social impact launchpad designed to engage and support community entrepreneurs who have promising ideas for addressing millennial health challenges in communities across the city of Philadelphia. For more information on that, be sure to visit wordradio.com, click the Well City Challenge banner located right under the Now On Air video that is playing, and shout out to everyone who has already done that, and those who are tuned in, okay? And so with that said, I want to go ahead and welcome our final guest of the evening. And please make sure, if you haven't already, you let your folks know to tune in right now. You turn your radios up so you can hear very clearly the information that is about to be shared, because this is definitely a case that I've been keeping an eye on, and in full transparency. I know Anthony Smith. The work that he's done in the community, the impact that he's had on the lives of young people, I'm very much familiar with that. And so this is definitely a bit surreal, to say the least, for me. I'm not speaking for anyone else. Just in this moment for me, and in the past 2-3 weeks since this has unfolded, it's really been unsettling to see how this has been playing out, and so it's with great honor and pleasure that I welcome Michael Cord, and y'all already know he is WURD fam. If you didn't know, you can catch him on Sundays hosting Radio Courtroom. He is a criminal defense attorney and activist. He has more than 15 years of trial experience and then some, right? And then also joining us is Dr. Jasmine Peak. She recently graduated with her PhD in molecular cell biology and genetics from Drexel University. More power to her, y'all. Because listen, I became a writer and a journalist for a reason. Math science was not my thing at all. But she is a longtime friend of Anthony Smith. She's known him for over 10 years. And she also serves as a lead organizer around community support and jailing support for Anthony Smith's case. So, Michael, Dr. Peak, thank you both so much for choosing a safe space with us today and for coming on to discuss Anthony's case thus far. So Dr. Jasmine Peak, let's start with you first and foremost. How are you doing? And what made you choose to say yes to the invitation to come on today?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks so much for having me. I think the main reason why I've been adamant about speaking out against this is because I understand the importance of this case, not just because of my relationship with Anthony and my friendship with Anthony, but the relationship with this city and activism, and how it's important for us to support all of our on-the-ground workers that are working for our liberation, especially when we see the government countless times trying to sabotage movements and the momentum that we've built up in Philadelphia. So that's the reason why I really want to speak out against this.
Got you. And Michael, this isn't the first time I've had the honor of welcoming you as a guest on a show, but for this instance in particular, what made you say yes to this, and how are you doing?
I am doing well. I hope you're doing well. Thank you very much for having me. And, you know, I've never met a microphone that I didn't love. In other words, I tend to go on and on and on. But I've had Dr. Jasmine Peak on my show, and I'm going to sit down and shut up for most of the interview. I'm simply going to answer direct questions, but I want to hear from her because when we talk about Ant, we have to put him in context. He is not a criminal defendant. He is an activist in the community. That's the lead story. If there were a headline to this, it's Anthony Smith, one of the greatest activists in modern Philadelphia history, and then parenthetically, we'll add some stuff about this case. And I'll certainly talk about the case. The lead attorney is Paul Hetznecker, and he and I are working together on this. I'm not going to disclose, obviously, the specifics of our defense, but in the general sense, I can tell you that, one, this is a political prosecution, and number two, it's a very weak one in the criminal context. And the final thing I want to say is this. When I say it's a political prosecution, I literally mean that. One of the three lead charges go back to the Nixon administration that Nixon created to go after the Black Panthers and other activists. In other words, it's been dormant for that long. All of a sudden, you get the current Attorney General, William Barr, digging into Richard Nixon's pockets, finding out about this crazy law called obstruction of law during civil disorder, and filing that against Ant. So it's a political prosecution, it's a weak political prosecution, and we're prepared for our day in court.
Got you. All right, so Michael, Dr. Peak, for anyone who is not familiar with Ant's case, can both of you or either of you kind of lay that out for folks? What exactly happened? What is he being accused of? And how did we get to him being arrested?
I think I can speak on that. So the arrest stems from the protests in the summer. And so they are charging Anthony with one of the main charges is arson, connected to the arson of a police vehicle during the Black Lives Matter protests at the end of May in the summer. And so throughout the rest of the year, I mean, it's been 5 months since, you know, those actions had occurred. They have been surveilling Anthony and, I guess, looking to find anything to build a case on him. And really, I mean, there is nothing, you know, you can definitely tell when federal officers are grasping at straws. And so at the end of the day, they decided that the time in which he was being awarded with one of the, you know, being elected one of the 76 most influential people in Philadelphia, the time in which the Walter Wallace protests were ramping up, and Anthony was involved in heavy organizing involving that, and around the same time as this tumultuous election that we all see unfolding, you know, they decided that this was a good time to bust down his door early in the morning around 3:30 a.m., raid his home, take a lot of his belongings, and pretty much terrify his family upon his arrest. And then they decided, instead of holding him in a federal facility in the city where they should be holding people who have been accused of federal crime, let's go ahead and ship him hours away, you know, away from his support system, away from his family, and let's try to keep him locked down while, you know, they try to charge him. And so their goal was to deny bail, right, and keep him in jail for, it would have been over a year when they would have been able to see this case, because due to COVID, cases are kind of slowing down. And so due process doesn't really exist right now. People are in prison for months, sometimes over a year, waiting for their trial to hit the court. And so their goal was to keep him locked down. However, Paul Hetznecker, a great defense attorney, was really able to defend him and show that, you know, he deserves to be home, you know, while we fight this case. And he deserves the presumption of innocence. We know that the federal court system and really the government in general likes to presume guilt, especially upon oppressed folks. And so it's really important that we advocate for the presumption of innocence, and that somebody can be innocent until proven guilty. And so that is the reason why it was such a good win for us for him to get bail. So he was released on his own recognizance, and then he's at home on conditional release pending his trial, which was a beautiful thing for him to, be reunited with his family after obvious, malicious intent on behalf of the government.
Got you. And Michael, I know Anthony is not the only one that's being charged. There are some other folks that are tied to those protests that took place over the summer. Can you give any insight, number one, specifically on the charges that Anthony Smith is currently facing, and the tie between him and these other defendants?
Great question, Sarita. Without sounding too technical, and I want to take a page out of Brother Malcolm's book and make it plain, because often when lawyers come on TV shows, they use this highfalutin language. Sounds impressive, but nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. So I'm going to try to make it plain. It's essentially 3 charges. 1, arson. 2, aiding and abetting. And 3, obstruction of law during civil disorder. What does all that mean? Let me get to the arson first. The arson is what people thinks it is. It's using fire to destroy property. So people might say, well, how is that a federal crime? Well, this is how the legal tricks have been played. Instead of charging it as a standard arson under Pennsylvania state law, they figured out, hey, if we can show that this thing, in this case, this thing is a police car, is part of an agency that receives federal funding, now this arson becomes a federal crime. So if I burn my neighbor's car, it's a state crime, arson. But if that car receives some funding from the federal government as part of what my neighbor does, all of a sudden we can charge it as a federal crime. That's the first charge, the arson crime, the arson, because of 2 things that make it federal. 1, that it's part of an agency that receives federal funding, that's the police department, and 2, that vehicle was involved in interstate commerce, that it travels from one state to the next, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, whatever. That's the arson charge. The thing is, they never say that Ant firebombed the vehicle. They never say that Ant engaged in arson of the vehicle. What they say is what the U.S. attorney stated during the press conference and what the grand jury indictment says. The U.S. attorney during the press conference says, quote, Anthony torched the vehicle. That's a direct quote. He torched it. No, he did not. And I got to be quite candid because it's been shown in some media outlets there apparently is a video or still photos allegedly showing Anthony near the vehicle or moving toward the vehicle or allegedly throwing something in the vehicle. Let's say right now, for the sake of argument, that might be true. Well, remember, what the U.S. attorney said is that Anthony torched the vehicle. There's nothing in any photo, nothing in any video that shows him torching the vehicle. The second thing is probably most important, the language in the actual grand jury indictment. Dealing with arson, it says that Anthony engaged in, quote, the malicious damaging of a police vehicle. That's a direct quote, malicious damaging. Malicious means extreme, evil, wicked, that kind of thing. The strongest evidence that the U.S. attorney claims to have, and we don't even know if that's true, the strongest evidence they claim to have is that Anthony supposedly, possibly, threw a piece of paper into the already burning vehicle. Somebody apparently lit a road flare, threw it into the vehicle. It's now engulfed. And they claim that Anthony came along and threw some paper. That's like me seeing a dead guy on the street and then slapping the dead guy. Well, if the guy is already dead and I slapped him, there's no crime there. So my point is, not only is it a political prosecution / persecution, it's a very, very weak one. And finally, very quickly in regard to the third charge, as I pointed out at the outset, it's this. I've been doing this for a long time. I've never heard of the federal government using the charge of obstructing law enforcement during a civil disorder since the Nixon administration, because they don't do that. But since the fascists took over, the orange fascists in the real White House, since he took over, there have been 300 prosecutions across the country similar to this. So it's not just Ant. It's anybody who would stand up and do the right thing. And that's what he's done, the right thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's, oh, go ahead, Dr. Peak.
Oh, I just wanted to add to that and say that, you know, I was able to sit in on his detention hearing, the first detention hearing that he had on November 6th, where the prosecution presented that exact evidence that, you know, that Michael Court was talking about. And when that evidence was presented, the defense was able to then follow up with 70 character letters in you know, in support of Anthony's good morale and good character, and also pretty much, I mean, the fact that there is no solid evidence that, you know, proving any of these accusations at all. And, you know, the judge did see that Anthony deserved to have release on bail. Now, what the prosecution did was they appealed right away, and they filed a stay of appeal. Now, the judge that we were sitting with in the first detention hearing, they denied the stay of appeal. They denied it. And what the prosecution had to do was they had to go above to the superseding judge and file a stay of appeal with them. And so because of that, Anthony had to stay in prison for another 3 days, from November 6th to November 9th. Now, when they went in front of that second judge, the district judge, that judge also saw that, again, there is no compelling evidence against him, right? So they advocated for his release on bail. I think that all that speaks volumes to, you know, just the fact that the government is using really no connecting dots at all to try to prove malicious intent on Anthony's behalf when really there is no malice. I mean, Anthony is a community leader, you know. He's strong-willed, empathetic, people server, honestly. And so they're trying to tear him down, tear his character down, and it did not work. It backfired. The people stood strong in his defense and were able to get him released from prison. So,
in fact, Sarita, if I can just jump in quickly to add to what Dr. Peak said, because Dr. Peak is right on point. So far, the federal government is 0 for 2 against Anthony. They went in front of a U.S. magistrate who ruled in Anthony's favor and said, let him go. The federal government 0-1 on that. And then the federal government took it up from the magistrate judge, who's a great fair judge, a guy by the name of Magistrate Judge Perkins, took it up to the U.S. District Court judge, that's Judge Curtis Joyner, and made the same argument. And Curtis Joyner, the Honorable Judge Curtis Joyner in District Court, also ruled in Anthony's favor. So the 2 times that Anthony was in front of a federal judge on this case, he won twice, the federal government lost twice.
So when we're looking at the fact that Anthony is home right now, right? He was released, from my understanding, on bail. Do we have a trial date yet? What happens from here right now?
Well, procedurally, we don't, because from the detention hearings, there's going to be a number of pretrial conferences, pretrial hearings. For example, if the defense believes that some of the evidence against Anthony was tainted or illegally confiscated, we'll be filing what's known as suppression motions. That means you might have the evidence you claim you have as a prosecutor, but if that evidence was illegally received, that evidence is thrown out. That evidence is suppressed, so by the time you get to the trial, the jury might not see any of this stuff. So no, there's not a trial date set, and based on my experience, there won't be a trial date set for the next several months. I'm not saying a trial within the next several months. I'm saying the setting of an actual trial date. And that's why Dr. Peak is so right on point talking about the whole bail issue, because the defendant remains in jail without bail until the trial, unless the attorneys can get him out and the community can get him out. And that's exactly what the community did on behalf of Ant. So even if it drags on for a year or more, that's okay, because Ant is with his family.
You know, Dr. Peak, you spoke to the fact that, you know, there were 70 letters in support of Ant and his work that were submitted to the judge. And, you know, Michael, you just spoke to the community stepping up. I saw the latest piece on PhillyMag.com that, you know, highlighted that those letters came from Ant's family members, friends, former classmates at Arcadia University, community leaders, and coworkers, as well as his direct supervisor at Youth Build Philadelphia Charter School, where in full transparency, I have served the young people at Youth Build as a instructor there. And so what could, worst case scenario, had the community not come together, not stepped up, not wrote those 70 plus letters in support of him, how could that have shifted Ant's reality as he fights this case?
That's an excellent point. I really feel like without those, this would have been a very tricky situation. And so these letters came from not only just various organizers, people, professors from, Africana Studies departments and different universities around here, people who were involved in heavy organizing with Black Lives Matter Philadelphia, Black Philly Radical Collective, and other organizations, but also they came mainly from his students, both current and past. And so Anthony has been working with Youth Build for 4 years at this point. He started off with AmeriCorps, working as a project coordinator, but then he's now been a social studies teacher for them for about 3 years. And he's built a huge rapport with not only his staff and supervisors, but all of the students, some students not even in his actual classes that he's built rapport with. And so all of those students came out and, eager to support him. And I think that a lot of those things are really shifted the atmosphere in the hearing because both judges actually read all 70 letters. And they mentioned that, it was really overwhelming that they received so many. I also wanted to mention that you mentioned his direct supervisor, who has been really, really not just, helpful and, just providing information about Anthony for the case and things of that sort, but also has offered to hold Anthony's job for no matter how long he was going to have to be incapacitated from this. So she actually was, her testimony, in the detention hearing, solidified to the judge that his job was going to be held for no matter how long, he was going to be out of the ability to serve his students. His job would be there waiting for him when he got out. And I think that was a crucial thing that really motivated the judges to see that he is not a flight risk. He is here embedded in the community and involved in many different organizing efforts and involved in a lot of people's lives directly. And so he won't be leaving. He won't be fleeing. He's not running from anything. First of all, because he loves the community, and second of all, because there's nothing to run from because he didn't do anything. So.
Gotcha. In hearing that, I'm processing a few different realities that we as the Black community have to live every day, right? And specifically thinking about Ant, an activist in the community, a teacher at a school, a son, a brother, a friend, right? All of these different hats that he wears. And in thinking about, some of the spaces that he occupies and the fact that, they're not all Black owned and Black praised or oriented, right? And thinking about, okay, so what does that mean about the role of allies when it comes to Black members of the organization or at their company? If there's anything that either of you might be able to speak to in terms of allyship, and the importance of it, especially seeing that there are non-Black people within the last 4 years, of this administration, and seeing all that it's brought out in terms of the underbelly of this country, who are reaching possibly a new level of wokeness and are trying to figure out how to best use their privilege or best use their allyship. From either of you, would there be any suggestions, or are there any points that you might want to speak to specifically to allies and how they can use their privilege to make a difference or to leverage what's needed for their Black counterparts?
And that's a great question, Sarita. The answer is this. As a man, I consider myself a feminist. And when I look at white folks, I always say to even my liberal friends, my progressive white friends, my woke white friends, I say, okay, it's good that you're liberal. It's good that you're a progressive. It's good that you're woke. But you got to be more than not racist. You got to be anti-racist. And the reason why I say this is because as a man, I say, okay, Mike, you're not sexist. You're not a misogynist. You don't say those bad things. But what are you doing when you're around other men to end sexism? What are you doing when you're around other men to end misogyny? Simply because you don't use the B word and don't whistle at women on the street. Okay, that's notable, but that ain't enough. Just like white folks can't tell me, hey, I didn't burn a cross on your lawn, so I'm good. Well, you got to do more than not burning a cross on my lawn. And just like men got to do more than simply saying, hey, I haven't used the B word. So my point is, to all my white allies, they got to do the work. And that's why I love the lead attorney here, Paul Hetznecker. Paul Hetznecker and I, we met about maybe 20 years ago or more. Every time there's a major demonstration, a major protest, we're always representing pro bono the activist, because we understand that as lawyers, we can be tools of oppression or we can be weapons against oppression. We understand what Charles Hamilton Houston, the mentor of Thurgood Marshall, meant when he said that a lawyer is either a social engineer or a parasite on society. And we use the law to change the law. And very quickly, we're representing, Paul and I and a group of about maybe 6 other attorneys, we're representing nearly 200 residents of the 52nd and Market Street area who were attacked with rubber bullets and tear gas and pepper spray. And Ant is part of that, represented by another group, but he's all part of that. And one of the things that we're doing, no disrespect to the lawyers you see in here on radio and TV, but we're not just seeking compensatory damages where the city pays our clients. We're not simply seeking punitive damages where the city pays our clients. We're seeking substantive reform. We're saying as part of the lawsuit, as part of the deal, no more rubber bullets, no more pepper spray, no more tear gas, firing cops, arresting cops. So it's not just about lawyers doing their thing, it's about lawyers doing the right thing. I always say that justice doesn't come from lawyers in the courtroom. Justice comes from activists on the street.
Wow, you said a lot right there. I want to take a moment and open up the phone lines because, again, I know some folks may be aware of this case. Some folks, you may just be learning of this case. And this could be quite a bit for you to take in because this is happening right here in Philadelphia, right? This isn't something that we're reading or talking about, you know, that happened years ago, you know, or in a different city. It's right here in Philly. And so I want to make sure we do open up the phone lines for any processing to occur. And that's the hotline number is 215-634-8065. Again, 215-634-8065. You can also call in toll free, 866-361-0900. Again, 866-361-0900. Dr. Peak, I want to go to you really quickly because I know, you know, we've been talking about community efforts and whatnot. Over on Instagram, there's the handle FreeAntPHL. Can you speak a bit about what that growing community support and outcry has looked like beyond those 70 plus letters that were submitted to the federal judge?
Yeah, absolutely. So we created the Instagram account for Anthony because we wanted to really have like a localization of support for him, not just in the area, but also localized support in terms of how to spread information a little bit more globally so that we can have a collective effort and all work on it together. There's been a lot of organizations that have aided in the outreach and community support and jail support for Anthony. I'm going to just shout out a few organizations. So the Black Philly Radical Collective, which is a coalition of different organizations within the city, has been very paramount in advocating for Anthony's release, as well as Food Not Bomb Solidarity, that's an organization that Anthony works really closely with, serving food every Friday. There's also North Philly Peace Park, Philadelphia Student Union, Sankofa, Black Lives Matter Philly, Workers World, among countless other organizations just in the area that have all advocated and worked toward anti-police. And then he was held in Lehigh County Prison. And so Lehigh Valley Mutual Aid actually met us there for jail support, provided not only food for the supporters that were there, provided food for Anthony when he was released. We were able to really celebrate him with over 30 people, so a 10-car caravan that came to meet him and take him back home. We were able to bring his mother up and a lot of other close friends and organizers so that they can meet him on his arrival out of prison, and so that was really appreciated. We can only put that together through the organization of this Instagram page and through just the collective effort of everyone who came together seeking to support Anthony. The Instagram page actually has over 3,000 followers. We got about 2,500 followers in maybe 24 hours. We can tell that there's overwhelming support for Anthony from the community, so we really wanted to make sure everyone was able to speak out and get involved. On top of the Instagram page, we started a petition to advocate for Anthony's release on actionnetwork.org. That petition has received over 8,000 signatures just in the last few days. So we have this overwhelming support from all different angles. I mean, there's free ant graffiti on walls in Chicago. There's reporters, international reporters reaching out to speak about the case. There's organizers from the West Coast and from different countries that are asking about ants and just checking in, seeing what funds we need. We've received overwhelming donations for family support for his bail, which he was able to get bail on recognizance, so he didn't have to pay up front, which was really great. And then also a lot of funds just to support, in general, his family and his legal funds that he's going to have in the future. I will say that there was a lot of damage that was done to his home from the actual raid itself, and so there's been funds donated for that. So, I mean, the community has really all just linked together to support him, and it's not just because he's Anthony, but it's because he is a community member that would do the exact same thing. So it wouldn't even matter if he didn't receive the award from the mayor in 2018 for outstanding community service. It wouldn't matter if he wasn't listed in Philly Maga's 76 most influential people. It wouldn't matter if he was the face of many organizing efforts in the city and always helping, always leading in action, always serving food. It wouldn't matter if he was an outstanding social studies teacher, because at the end of the day, he's a community member. He's a Philadelphian, and he deserves support. And so the way that this network works, this grassroots efforts that we have built in the city, is that we don't leave anyone behind. Anthony has a really prominent speech that is making its way around social media, where he talks about the importance of jail support, and that no matter if you're in jail for 2 days or you're in jail for 40 years, like Lumia, you still deserve support. You still deserve to be met outside with open arms and to be received by your community after your work. And that's what the movement's going. And so those are just the things, that we have to do to support our community. Yeah.
So now, after a required 14-day quarantine period at his home, it sounds like there's going to be some electronic monitoring, a curfew, and that he'll then be permitted to return to his job as a social studies teacher. But, of course, with that curfew, must remain inside his house, his home at night. We have literally a couple. Oh, go ahead. Oh, okay. We have probably about a minute or so left, but how is he doing? I mean, regardless of what's going on, he's been in jail, federal jail for the past, at least over 2 weeks or so. How's he doing right now?
He is very strong, almost too strong for his own good. Where he's definitely holding on, and he was more worried about his family than he was worried about himself. I mean, I actually just spoke to him earlier, right before this, and he was smiling and happy to be home, even though he's still worried about. I mean, obviously we're all worried, about this because this was going to be a long-term fight. But he was just happy that the community was able to support his family, support his mother and his father during this time, his siblings, and he was just happy to see the collective effort. So he recently made one of his first Facebook posts after being released today, which is really refreshing for the community to finally hear from him after being gone for 2 weeks, and incarcerated. So I think he's doing pretty good. I'm sure that once all this stuff gets acquitted, then he'll be doing much better.
Got you.
And Sarita, if I can just spend 30 seconds adding something, and I'm so glad that Dr. Peak mentioned what she mentioned, and I would be remiss as a criminal defense attorney if I didn't provide, in a general sense, 3 bits of important legal advice to all the supporters of ANT and all the activists. And this is general advice. In light of the federal government's unconstitutional and intrusive behavior in going after activists, it's 3 things I need the public to know about. And write this down, because the 4th Amendment to the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 8 of the Pennsylvania Constitution, talk about a right to privacy and opposition to illegal searches. So 3 things people need to do. 1, it's not a crime to wear a mask during a protest. So I would encourage people, and this is obviously lawful, nonviolent protest, you still don't want to be targeted. So wear a mask for health reasons and for constitutional reasons. That's number 1. Number 2, when you post political stuff on social media, I would strongly suggest that you have somebody else type it in, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, your brother, your sister. It could be your thoughts, but somebody else is actually picking up the phone and typing in whatever's being typed, so you weren't the person who typed it if it's political. That's the second thing. And the third thing is there's an app called the Signal app, and I would encourage everybody to download the Signal app. It actually is an automatically encrypted communication, so that when you person A texting the person B, it's automatically encrypted and it disappears after a day or 2. Download the Signal app. And finally, don't write your passwords down anywhere. There's a recent decision by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court that said that if your password is written down somewhere, the authorities can locate it and access your account. But if you have it committed to memory, you are not required by law to tell them what your password is. So if it's written down somewhere, they can get it. If it's in your head, they can't. That's what I'm advising people to do. Everything I said is legal and lawful, consistent with nonviolent protest, consistent with the 4th Amendment, Article 1, Section 8 of the state constitution. That's how lawyers should use the law to promote justice.
Gotcha. And again, I'm going to run those back for anyone that missed it. It's not a crime to wear a mask during a protest for health and constitutional reasons. When posting political social media content, have someone else type it. The app, the app, which is called the Signal. It makes sure that whatever communication you have is automatically encrypted. It disappears after a day or 2. And then last but not least, don't write your passwords down anywhere. And the reason being that authorities can locate it and gain access to your account. So always appreciate you, Michael. This is why we love tuning in on Sundays, because you give us the game that we need to know so that we can move smart in these streets. But listen, Dr. Jasmine Peak, Michael Cord, thank you both so much for joining us, for giving us updates on Anthony Smith's case. I definitely hope to circle back in the future with you all as this continues to progress, so that we can keep folks informed about what's happening. For anyone who might want to continue following Ant's case or even support him, what's the best way for them to do that, Dr. Peak?
If you want to follow his case, the best way is that Instagram page, FreeAntPHL. If you're interested in making a donation or reaching out via email, then you can email Philly4RealJustice at gmail.com. It's all spelled out in all lowercase, Philly4RealJustice at gmail.com. And then also, if you want to donate to Ant's legal funds, to his community funds, then you can donate to paypal.me/PhillyReal, paypal.me/PhillyReal, and just go ahead and put his name in the description.
All right, there we have it. Michael Cord and Dr. Jasmine Peak, thank you both so much for choosing to save space with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, love. Yes, looking forward to staying in touch. All right, loves, we are going to go ahead and take a quick break. Phone lines are open, 215-634-8065 is the hotline number, toll free, 866-361-0900. I'm your host, sincerely, Sarita. It's 47 after the hour. This is Safe Space on WURD Radio, 96.1 FM, 900 AM. We'll be back after these messages.
Hey, WURD family. Our friends at Amoroso's Baking Company are hiring right now. Amoroso's has been baking the delicious bread in our community for over 100 years, and they want you to join their team today. The old and the young love Amoroso's, and they are hiring right now. Check it out. They offer fair pay and provide health, dental, and prescription plans after 90 days employment. Call 856-754-0355 or visit amorososbaking.com for details.
WURD Radio presents the following wellness tip to support our listeners with mindfulness and motivation as we continue to navigate the pandemic together.
Hi, this is Halana, your resident health and wellness coach, with tips to help you stay well. Many of us have heard this term before, but may not know what it really means. Compassionate living brings mindfulness and peace to the center of your daily life. Compassionate living can look like this. Number 1, be gentle with yourself and those around you. Number 2, choose to speak kindly to others, even when you're upset. Number 3, become a good listener and practice empathy at home and at work. We sometimes think in order to live with compassion, we have to become someone else. Not so. In fact, allowing peacefulness to be at the center of our daily interactions is something we can practice every day. Go ahead and try it today. Stay well with WURD. Happy living.
Stay well with WURD. Connect with us at wordradio.com.
Always Best Care is a great place to work.
Flexibility,
leadership, purpose,
great benefits.
There's never a dull moment.
diversity,
inclusion,
compasión.
We love our jobs. If you're looking for a great place to work, you can join our compassionate Team Green. You can apply online at teamgreenabc.com or call 267-909-9248.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Monday through Thursday, keep it locked to WURD Radio. At 6 a.m., start your day with the Power Hour, hosted by Bishop Dwayne Royster and Reverend Mark Kelly Tyler. At 7, it's Wake Up with WURD with Solomon Jones. At 10 a.m., it's Reality Check with Charles Ellison. Then at 1 p.m., it's The Source, hosted by Andrea Lawful Sanders on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and the Black Women's Leadership Council on Wednesdays. At 4 p.m., it's Evening Words with Nick Taliaferro. Then at 7, it's Save Space with Sincerely Sarita. At 9 p.m., round up your day with Keeping It Real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Keep your dial locked to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Streaming live on wordradio.com and the WURD Radio app. Or watch live on WURD TV via Facebook and YouTube. WURD Radio. Independent Black Media.
Millennials are known for many things, but did you know that they are currently on track to have worse mental and physical health than the generations that came before them? The Economy League of Greater Philadelphia is challenging our communities to change that with the Well City Challenge. This community-led competition puts the power in your hands to help shape how we address major health challenges across our region, with an emphasis on inclusion and collaboration. So if you care about the health of your community, bring them innovative ideas they need to turn this challenge into opportunities for the millennial generation. Visit economyleague.org to apply today for a chance to compete for $100,000 in prizes and investments. The Well City Challenge is presented by Independence Blue Cross.
He's back.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton.
In times like these, we have to stay connected.
At a brand new time, Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight.
I'm excited that Keeping It Real returns to WURD.
Keeping it real with the Reverend Al Sharpton. Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. till midnight. This program is pre-recorded. No phone calls, please.
Keep it locked to WURD 96.1 FM, 900 AM, WURDradio.com.
Tune in this Sunday at 2 p.m. for the Gastrology Conversation Show, providing information and understanding about your colon health with Dr. Stephen Blake.
Save space with Sincerely Sarita. Right now on WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Independent Black Media.
To the next generation, Merry Christmas. You're working harder than ever now, and the coffee sucks. You know, Colombia and Kenya got too damn hot, and I am making do with what you've got. Everybody knew, reading all the same headlines, blowing through the traffic signs.
You are back listening to Save Space. I'm your host, Sincerely Sarita. Just a couple minutes left here in the program before we get out of here. But I believe we have a couple of folks on the line, and so I want to make sure we get to them and keep that brief. So let's go to Carlos. Hey, Carlos, you there? Going once, going twice. Okay. All right. So do we have Miss Roslyn on the line? Miss Roslyn, you there?
Hello. Yes. Hello.
Oh, did we got them both? Okay, what we got? Who we got? We got a party popping now.
I think we got
Okay.
them both.
Okay, so let's take one because I only got about a minute left in the show. So,
Carlos,
Kayla
wait
J,
30 seconds, bro.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah. What was the guy's name? It was Anthony. What? The one that been through the pushing the police car. What was that
Yeah.
again?
Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith.
Oh.
Anthony spelled exactly how it's supposed to. Anthony Smith. Smith.
Okay.
So if you Google Anthony Smith, Philadelphia, it should come right up, and you'll see some of the news articles that have been released on him, about him in this case, and you can kind of catch up there. And then, of course, as Dr. Peak said, if you're active on social media, at FreeAntPHL,